Hi, I'm Will Oakley. I've been studying here for 4 years now.
Hi, my name's Jenny.
Hi, my name is Emma. We are master's students studying the MA Theatre Making course.
And we've both been at Hull for 4 years. My main interest in theatre is acting, producing and writing.
My main interests are acting and sensory theatre and a little bit of design.
Hello, my name is Jacob. I was a third year, now moving into my MA. At the time I went to PQ. My specialism was costume, although I had done work in digital and other areas of theatre. But for me, my main area of interest was costume design.
I feel like my favourite thing about PQ was spending a lot of time with the friends I already had and meeting a variety of creatives all across the world as we celebrated scenography.
Along with that, I think there was a lot of culture, not just from Prague and the locals, but also just so many different countries that came together with their ideas and performing them so beautifully.
I'd say it was worth going to the PQ for a lot of different reasons. The main one would probably be meeting about almost every single culture around the world coming together and showing what they've got, and being involved in that was incredible. I managed to be involved in many different projects, not just helping make them, but actually being a part of them, which was something I never thought I'd be able to do. So for instance, I was able to be a part of the Victor X performance, being a immersive tour guide for the audience, as well as being on the door for the -9 interactive performance.
So going to PQ, I sort of had this one idea of what costume should be, but when I arrived there, seeing other countries work and the way they used costume so for example, there was a Norwegian show where they built this tower, and on each layer they used costume as set, and it was a set building device rather than a purely visual costume aid for the actor, which sort of opened my mind into what costume could be and what costume could become. And I think that was helped a lot by the fact that I was very lucky to work some of the costume talks, and there was a talk by a New Zealand practitioner, and she gave a lovely talk about the use of colour in costume, but also how that relates to a character's emotion in video games. And I think that personally just expanded my mind on the way in which I could use costume as a costumier.
Yeah, and I feel like in regard to the festival, for me, in a professional manner, it definitely opened my eyes to social media management on a wider sort of level. I'd done it previously more at uni and in little bit jobs, but because I was in charge of managing the whole social media for the fundraising for the Hull students, it's given me a really good idea of how to do that professionally, as well as things like event management. I've got a better idea of how a fully fledged festival on that scale would be run now as well.
I'd say Prague was probably the best location to do this sort of thing, not just because of the space and how accessible it was also a city full of culture itself. So for instance, we had a local that we went to after we finished a day's work, and there was a fire spinner every Saturday. It was amazing, and the architecture itself, so eclectic but so beautiful at the same time.
But it was also really great because I was given the chance to help with the Mexican exhibition, where they had little dolls, only about this big, of replicas of costumes that they wore for shows, and they were all beautiful, and you would pull string and it would open up or it would move, and the way that the hair would move. So my job that I was given was to go every day and just sort of fix it. And I'd never worked with anything on such a small scale before, so being able to really, it was looking at the fine details, and I think that was also something that really helped me, because you take costume as this big thing and you look at it collectively, but it really allowed me to not just look at one thing, but look at one tiny specific thing.
I'm Marcus, he, him. I'm on the Drama and Theatre Practices degree, and I specialise in set and set design.
Hello, my name is Maya and I'm a third year drama student interested in set design and set construction.
I'm Jax. I'm a second year also on the drama and theatre making degree. My pronoun is Azize, and I kind of just specialise in whatever comes along.
More so digital and costume and stuff like that as your specialty.
This was a really beneficial thing for me to take part in as an aspiring set designer because I got to see so many different visions and set designers' creations, and it made me realise that the set design that I know, the British set design, the usual things that you see, isn't what they do in Prague, isn't what they do in some Asian countries. Every country has their own way of designing and making theatre, and I'll be able to take from this that when I'm designing my sets, I can broaden my horizons and not just look at inspiration from British plays. I can look from different countries, create some more unique work, and I think that will really benefit me as a set designer.
We went to PQ, Prague Quadrennial, and it was a really good trip actually. Yeah, we learned a lot of stuff. We were only there for about 4 days, but we made the absolute most of it. I don't think we stopped the entire time we was there, did we?
No, we got there. We landed at we got to the hotel at about 3 o'clock and went straight to the PQ.
Yeah.
And near enough fell asleep on Belgium's exhibit because they had hammocks, which was so
Yes.
comfy.
Yeah.
And it was such a cool thing. They built a scaffolding emergency theatre because they were about bringing theatre to their own area.
Yeah.
Where because of their government shutting a lot of theatres down during COVID for breaking rules, that they made sure that in the future they could build their own theatres, which is what they do, which is really interesting and so comfy.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting what they were doing with all of the theatre and stuff like that, because we don't have that in the UK at all because of the laws that we have around busking in certain places, but they can literally build a theatre space anywhere that they want to, which is a really cool idea that we really want to explore with more going forwards.
I mean, it wasn't legal. They didn't do it legally. They did it very not illegal, but also the areas of the law don't have answers.
Yeah.
So they got away with it, which Belgium might change.
Belgium might change, but at the moment we have answers for those laws that say no, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
But in Hull, because of the busking laws that we have in Hull, we're more likely to be able to put stuff on just on the streets, which is actually really interesting to learn about all these different countries and where they base their theatre. Because in the UK we've got this idea that you go to an actual theatre, you go and watch a show, it's all very four walls and talking to an audience and stuff like that. And in a lot of places around the world, they don't have that same expectation.
Yeah, Chile were invited to a panel with the UK's table where it's a country takes over Britain's panel. It's really fun, it's very interesting, it's very different each time. But I watched the Chile one and they talked about their political landscape, which is there's one education for drama in Chile, and it's controlled by the government.
Yeah.
So because it's controlled by the government and Chile is a very political country trying to fight for its own voice and its own arts, the whole Chile team was self-funded there. They were funded by the community, but their art itself is self-funded. So they don't have a normal theatre structure. They've had to build their own theatre.
Yeah.
They don't not allow people from this degree to come join their theatre, but they're not allowed to be controlling thoughts in it because of the they don't want the people who have been taught by the government to be making so much dynamic change. I do remember on the panel they were asked, what does your DSM do? And they were like, what's a DSM?
Yeah.
Because their structure is so different. And it's really fun to see other countries doing different structures. I mean, Czechia even has different structures to theatre compared to the UK and their own PQ.
As well as this, I was a workshop assistant for one of the PQ workshops that was being run. With this, I managed to get some great contacts with some of the course leaders at Wimbledon's College of Arts and some artists that were dancing and creating art during that workshop. And these are people that I know that I can turn to in the future if I ever want connections in London or in Wimbledon, which is really beneficial to me as well.
I just really think it helped develop my skills as a person, and also from just personal experience, being able to talk to people and different people who work within costume as a profession. I think the experience that I've had and everything that it's helped is invaluable, and I'm very, very thankful to have been able to go.
PQ is a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I was just someone very lucky to be able to experience that. And yeah, I think in 4 years I'd probably go again on my own volition.
As well as this, not only benefiting my work as a set designer, just as a theatre maker in general, being able to see work that not necessarily is from a theatrical background, but just artwork in general, has inspired me to become more artistic in myself.
Hi, my name is Josh. I am a master's student that has an interest in sound design.
Hi, I'm Jay. I was an MA and I specialise in digital projection.
Hi, I'm Matthew. I was on the MA cohort from 2022 to 23, and my specialism on that MA cohort was theatre photography.
I think as well, I worked a lot with PQ Kids, so I got to see how all these different exhibits are going to be influencing the next generation of theatre makers that we have across the world. Along with that, there's a lot of sensory theatre, which I'm personally very interested in. It was the first time I got to see so many variations of sensory theatre in one place.
The one thing that I found great about this experience that it actually allowed me to experience going to a different country, because I haven't been out of the UK for quite a while, so quite glad to get this opportunity. But also with the experience that I was able to gain from going was that gave me a lot of knowledge about how different countries can interpret like different methods of doing sound design.
At Prague, I was part of the blog team, which was unusual for me because I'm usually creating visuals, not writing about things. However, I realised that I could write, but not in the sense of a traditional blog. I ended up creating a lot of poems for the different talks and pieces that were at Prague. From this, I realised that writing is something I'd maybe like to do as a career, and that my creativity isn't limited to one specialism.
When I went to Prague, I was originally put on the blog squad, and while writing and theatre criticism has always been an interest, I never really had a place on that team. There was a lot of theatre criticism and a lot of journalistic writing in that sort of specialism, and that was not my bag. So I was like, I need to find a new bag, which is how I ended up talking my way onto the professional photography roster for PQ.
I mean, like, it's interesting to see all the different ways that the actual theatre is being made, but from like my perspective, being from like a set background and stuff like that, they had this amazing sort of exhibit sort of area where you got to walk around and see all of these student-made projects. So it wasn't even these professional companies, it was these students, and just seeing some of the stuff that they made was absolutely amazing. A lot of it was very like sensory and visual. A lot of it was like no talking to like bridge the language barrier that obviously you have with all of these different nations getting together and like showcasing what they do. If you do something very language based, it can be like non-inclusive to people who don't speak English or who might not have a good grasp of English, or even if you're from somewhere that doesn't speak English, you're limiting the amount of people. So seeing how they make shows non-language based, very movement based, very just showing things through the set, through like these sensory experiences. There are a lot of people who are using things like water and moving visual pieces that people could actually interact with, whereas we don't have that much. I've never really experienced that, just being able to go somewhere and look at a thing, but they're all very much like, no, touch it, we want you to like get into it. And we're sort of there, well, I'm sort of there very like English and like, yeah, I'll look at it, I'm not going to touch it. And like, no, we actively want you to touch it. So it's breaking down sort of what we think of as interacting with theatre, like physically, not just like mentally, but physically interacting with the theatre space, which is something I want to explore more going forwards in the degree. So it's opened up my eyes of what set can be and where my own limitations from my experiences were.
I wasn't actually part of the PQ experience. I was working on a different project to do with the University of Hull, which was a project that incorporated using different elements taken from the scenes that are taken from the exhibitions that were from PQ itself to be brought to the university for people to experience the actual Quadrennial, even though they weren't there. So I was actually collecting clips for it to be used, which I thought was quite helpful as it let me experiment with which aspects of the Quadrennial that I wanted to take with me, and with some of the stuff that was showcased there.
While in Prague, I got the opportunity to photograph with professional photographers who subsequently put my photograph on their show. So I was a featured artist in PQ. Going there, I had taken photos from everything from fashion shows to football matches, from outdoor theatre to small enclosed black box spaces. It sort of gave me everything that I may come up with while in a professional degree, and that fact set me on a solid basis moving forward. So it was a world-changing experience for me, both professionally and personally.
One of my favourite things about Prague in the educational manner was PQ Talks. I attended quite a lot of these and I found the content really interesting, entertaining and of course educational. During the talks I asked a few questions and I definitely got the most out of it. I think from a theatre point of view, the PQ Talks gave me all sorts of ideas to take forward into the future, whether that be about sustainable scenography, the way that sound or lighting or projection can be used in theatre, and all of these ideas I'm really looking forward to taking forward within my career.
One of the things I enjoyed the most about PQ was getting to meet all kinds of different people from across the world. We met loads of different students from other universities. We met other different scenographers, dramaturgs that had come to bring their ideas to PQ. And it was a really good experience getting to meet them all and potentially make connections that we can use in the future.
We are very grateful for the funding that has been provided by you to allow our students to participate in Prague Quadrennial, a truly global professional event. Now, with the hindsight of 3 months, we have had wonderful feedback. Only last week I spoke to the program manager who pointed out that many of the people who wrote about their experience of being at PQ highlighted students from Hull. So it was wonderful for our students to participate and help run this wonderful event. It also helped us immensely in our research culture, and we are now working on a heritage legacy project that will capture that event for posterity. So thank you very much for your generous and altruistic help. It is much appreciated.